What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. So today I want to talk about the length of video game development and also more specifically how I think a lot of the time video games are just shown far too soon to the public. What sparked this video idea for me was a couple of days ago I talked about how Naughty Dog started crunching their workers once again to get an in-house demo ready for Sony. When talking about Naughty Dog, I think naturally the topic of how long they take to make their games always comes up. Real quick, if you guys enjoy the video, make sure you like it up, subscribe. We are only 15 subscribers away from 1,000 and I know we can hit it before the end of the year, so I appreciate the support. Okay, so do video games actually take too long to make? Honestly, I don't really have an exact answer. I don't have an exact opinion on this. I'm kind of two minds on this statement, or rather on this topic, because you always, well, let's just start here. As a consumer, as a video game enjoyer, you really don't want to wait that long to play a video game that you're excited for. When a game is shown to you when it's said to be in development, you don't want to wait 5, 6, 7 years for that game to come out so you can play it. And again, that's just from a consumer standpoint, right? Someone who's not working on a video game, who has no experience in a game development. And then you try to look at it from the developer's standpoint, from anybody who's involved in video game making, whether you be an actor or physically working and developing on the game. I always like to kind of elaborate and specifically say I have no clue, truly no idea what they go through when making a video game. I'm completely naive when it comes to that, right? But let's just say I have an idea and, kind of an understanding of what they go through. Look, I just took an IT class this semester, and let me tell you, if video game development is anywhere near what I did this semester, okay, I truly respect what they do. A concept of a video game, right? Let's start there. It has to start out as a concept first. Then you need to get into like the pre-production phase with, doing concept art once again, then writing and making characters, writing the story, writing the world, all the other lore that's in the world you're building. And then you need to start like the actual development of the game. I always think to myself, man, this game that I'm playing right here started from absolutely nothing. Like this piece of art did not exist until these people put their minds to it and worked together and made it. So thinking of it like that, that's why I always say I never choose one over the other, right? I never say, oh, video games take way too long to make and that's the end of it, right? I always try to look at the opposite side. I should say I do my best to look at the opposite side and understand, and I think I do for the most part. But again, going back to me being a consumer, just a video game enjoyer, enthusiast, if you will, sometimes I do feel that video games take too long to make, and it's not always the case, but a lot of times it is the case. And also, how I mentioned before, I think the case with announcing a game way before it comes out, that happens way too much. Now look, I completely understand announcing a game to attract talent, right? I understand why they do it. The idea behind it makes complete sense. You put out a trailer for a game, the trailer might rack up millions and millions of views, and people will say, hey, I'm a video game developer, I can work on this, and they apply, and there you go, you got some talent now. It makes complete sense, but I think what should be normalized is you tell the people, the fans, the people that you're showing this game to that is in development, say, hey, we're putting out this trailer for this game that has actually not started development yet, but we just wanted to show you that we are starting to work on this game and the game will eventually come out. I think there's too much of an emphasis on like professionalism when it comes to like everything, movies, TV shows, video games, right? I feel like sometimes you just gotta calm down and just not, put yourself too high on a pedestal and say, hey, we can't talk to these people, our fans, like, we're talking in a boardroom with them. Like, you can actually just put out a tweet and say, hey, the game isn't going to come out for at least 6, 7 years. And I genuinely would not see an issue with that, because you're telling people the game isn't going to come out for a while. And also you're doing it to attract attention, attract talent, excuse me. And especially if this is the case with a new studio, a studio that has just been built from like the ground up. I think a recent example is with Star Wars, the Fate of the Real, oh my god, Star Wars Fate of the Old Republic. I could not say that, okay? So I think this is kind of like, I don't know if it's a direct sequel to the old games. I never played the old games, but spearheaded once again by Casey Hudson. I think he directed and made some of the old Republic games, and then he also directed, of course, and created the Mass Effect trilogy. So he created a new studio, like I think a couple years ago. The studio got shut down, so he created a new studio once again, and they're over here trying to make Star Wars Fate of the Old Republic. But we all know this game isn't coming out until like 2039. He did say it's going to come out before 2030, so I guess we have that to kind of look forward to. And even him, he's a kind of a good example of what I just said, what I kind of just offered in a solution to this issue. Just, you know, kind of say the game is not coming out yet, but it is going to come out within this time frame or before this date this year, just to give people an idea of when it's coming out and not to kind of just lead people on and let them hang in for years on end. I don't follow the Elder Scrolls a lot, but I know this game was shown off, was it like 2019 for the first time, like they announced they were going to be making it? Yep, that trailer says 7 years ago, so this game still probably isn't anywhere near coming out, but that's just another example of showing a game far too early and announcing it far too early. You haven't even started working on the game. That's the case, I'm like 90% sure. Because if the game started development anywhere near that time, we would have seen another trailer for it. We would have seen something regarding this game, but no, it's been 7 years of like dead silent, essentially, apart from maybe the rare occurrence of information here and there. When it comes to a game's development cycle, that's not something I don't think we can really fix, because, you know, working on a game, it takes as long as it takes. You know, if you come across bugs and you just can't get the game to run, it takes as long as it takes. But when it comes to announcing a game and showing it off far too early, that's something I believe people can change and fix. I mentioned before Naughty Dog and Intergalactic, right? I'm not gonna say they do this all the time, but I do think Naughty Dog does have a history of taking a long time of their games. Though in the case of Intergalactic, I do think they did a better job of like showing the game at a reasonable time. And after they showed it off, they did kind of go on record saying we started development in 2020, and, you know, they didn't give like a release date or a window or anything like that, but I think like insiders and just kind of using like common sense, we're all targeting like mid 2027 with The Last of Us Part 2, The Last of Us 2013, even like Uncharted 4, right? They aim for like May, June-ish. So mid 2027 follows their like release window. Also, with the fact that they tend to always release their games before the next console generation comes in, like right before. The Last of Us 2013, June 2013. The PS4 came out in November 2013. The Last of Us Part 2, June 2020, and the PS5 came out in November 2020. Intergalactic is in development for the PS5. If you look at the trailer and everything, it says in development for PS5. We know almost for a fact this game is not coming out next year. 2027 is the most reasonable and most likely date for this game to come out. So chances are they're going to do the same exact thing they've been doing for the past like 3 of their games and release it right before the game, the next console generation, the PS6, comes out in November 2027. Yeah, they've done a better job compared to a lot of other studios and developers and other games in general. But to be honest, I do think they still could have waited to show this game off. Though if they waited a little longer, it's possible the game would have like got leaked, and you know, you don't want that. They got to show it off at the Game Awards and got so many eyes on it. Honestly, I think they could have waited until this year's Game Awards or even like early next year. Really, this year's Game Awards probably would have been better. And because it's Naughty Dog, honestly, I highly doubt they needed eyes to, you know, gather talent to work on this game. They have plenty of people, I'm sure. I think they just thought the game was in a place where they could show it off, which I respect. But again, I do think like 3 years before the game comes out, pretty much, is like, I think that's still a little too long. Probably wait until the next year. But look, that's just me. That's just my thoughts. Of course, let me know how you guys feel in the comments. I'm not partial to one side of this argument, of this conversation. I always try to see both sides, because when it comes to this video game development, I wouldn't say it's necessarily black and white, you know. But yeah, if you guys enjoyed the video, as always, like it up, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.